Before we start, spoiler warning for Avatar: The Last Airbender. Okay, Avatar: The Last Airbender is without a doubt 100% my favorite television show. In fact, I would go so far as to say this is the greatest television show ever aired on television. This is not better than Attack on Titan and all that. This is the best. The cream of the crop. Okay, before you go after me in the comments telling me, oh, this can't be better than Attack on Titan. It's a kid's show. Yeah, okay, let me explain this to you, because you're really stupid if you say that. One of Avatar's greatest assets is that it appeals to all ages. It's got this fast-paced action that kids can enjoy, and teens and adults can appreciate the complex and mature themes of betrayal, acceptance, grief, and loss, and corruption, as well as the complicated politics and the intricate world building, and that the show is also funny as hell. I mean, every episode has got his jokes, and probably the best one is Sokka getting high on cactus juice in the book 2 episode, The Desert. If you have ever watched the show, you know exactly what I'm talking about, and you remember that moment, because that was honestly probably the most goated moment of the entire show. Like, actually, that was just goated. That was a really good joke. But this show is not just mindless laughs. This show is not mindless laughs. If you call it mindless laughs, I will slap you in the face. Because this show can go dark, and when it goes dark, and it goes dark a lot, it goes dark when it goes dark, and it means it goes dark. There's episodes like Book 3's The Puppet Master, which happens to be my favorite episode, and The Southern Raiders, Book 2's The City of Walls and Secrets, and Lake Laogai, and Book 1, Siege of the North, Two-Parter, and The Storm. Just let me run you over what actually happens in these episodes. In The Puppet Master, which is widely regarded to be the darkest episode in the entire show, and I agree because it's got lots of like these horror movie tropes and stuff in it. Katara, who is this person over here, unwillingly learns a horrifying waterbending technique called bloodbending, which is as gory as it sounds. In the Southern Raiders, Katara and another main character, Zuko, who is this guy, hunt down Katara's mother, Katara's mother's murderer, so Katara can kill him. And in City of Walls and Secrets, Team Avatar, which is composed of Aang, the goofy-ass kid with the arrows, Katara, the girl over here, Sokka, the guy over here, Toph, the blind earthbender over here, and Suki, the Kyoshi warrior, who isn't in this picture because she shows up in because she joins the team at the end. And then also the pets. There's Appa, with the sky bison with the arrows, and Momo, who's a flying lemur. So anyways, they're shown around the massive Earth Kingdom capital of Ba Sing Se by this creepy-ass lady named Judy, and we pretty quickly realize that something is really wrong in Ba Sing Se when Jet, a quote-unquote freedom fighter with a vendetta against firebenders, is literally legit brainwashed by the Dai Li, Ba Sing Se's quote-unquote cultural police force, and if that does not give you Gestapo vibes, I do not know what will. And in Lake Laogai, Team Avatar discovers that the Dai Li have been performing mass brainwashings and manipulating everyone to believe that there is no 100-year war, which there is, by the way. This is the plot of the entire show, that there is a 100-year war. And then you got characters like Zuko's sister Azula with these checkered pasts and mental disorders and so much stuff going on that people like Hello Future Me have made hour-long video essays detailing her psychology. But first, the story. So the world of Avatar has got 4 nations there. Those are the Water Tribes, the Earth Kingdom, the Fire Nation, and the Air Nomads. These nations are populated by 2 different kinds of people. There are the Benders, who can manipulate the 4 elements, and then there are the non-Benders, who are just ordinary Joes. So there's a dichotomy between the Benders and the non-Benders, which I guess you could compare to the dichotomy between the quirkless and the people with quirks in My Hero Academia, except the difference is that in My Hero Academia, the quirkless are at an inherent disadvantage because, 80% of the population has got quirks. But in non-benders and benders, it's not really the case because there's basically an even number of benders and non-benders, and they've got equal opportunities and they're equally badass. Like Katara, she's a waterbender, and her brother Sokka, he's not a bender, and they're both absolute badasses in their own way. So, anyways, there's also the Avatar, who in this case is this goofy-ass kid with arrows, and they can manipulate all 4 elements, which is only something they can do. Every single one. And when the Avatar dies, they're reincarnated into another nation in an endless cycle that goes water, earth, fire, air. Water, earth, fire, air. This is a lot like the Dalai Lama thing. Like, the methods of finding out the new Avatar is a lot like the methods of finding the next Dalai Lama. It's very similar. But the Fire Nation 100 years ago wanted to conquer the world because reasons. So the Firelord Sozin basically killed the Avatar Roku and then decided to end the Avatar cycle altogether and thus committed a mass genocide and literally killed every single one of the air nomads. Yes, all of them, because he thought this would be a good idea. And I have no idea how he managed to reach the southern air temple, because I thought only airbenders could reach air temples. And man, that plan was really weird because even if he had killed the Avatar, he wouldn't end the cycle because there would be a new Avatar in the Water Tribe and he would have to kill that one. And man, this guy was a goofy ass. I mean, I don't know why he was thinking all this stuff. Anyway, Sozin was a jerk, and he killed all of the air nomads except for the Avatar. Aang, he didn't manage to kill the Avatar because that's how much of a goofy ass he was, and because Miss Aang flew away with Appa, and then he activated his Avatar state, God mode, and he froze himself in Alpha into a giant ass iceberg for 100 years. Yeah, and the Avatar state, God mode. If Sozin had managed to kill him in the Avatar state, then there would be no more Avatar cycle. Man, that guy really did not think this shit through. And this genocide, it's incredibly important, man. Time dates from this. There's AG, there's BG. So, while Aang is frozen into the iceberg, war rages. The Fire Nation gets a fat head and decides that conquering the world really is the way to go. And then they try to conquer the world, then they fail, but they keep at it, then they fail, then they keep at it, then they fail. Yeah, they're resilient, you have to give them that, or they're stupid, they're probably stupid. In the year 99 AG, which stands for After a Genocide, two siblings of the Southern Water Tribe, Katara and Sokka, discover Aang and Appa in their iceberg. Katara is a waterbender who starts out pretty lame, but then she grows into one of the best waterbenders in the entire world. Then Sokka is a non-bender who's an ordinary goofy teen in the beginning, but then eventually becomes a master tactician, a military genius, one of the world's best swordsmen, and the inventor of the submarine. Sokka, who is that guy, he's my second favorite character. There is a better character, but we get to him later. So what happens is that Katara gets pissed at Sokka and accidentally uses super waterbending to break the iceberg, and Aang and Appa get unfrozen, and they were frozen in like this cryogenical stasis kind of thing, so Aang is biologically a 12, but he's chronologically like 112 or something like that. And they decide to help him to go on master earthbending, waterbending, and firebending. Sokka somewhat reluctantly at first. Sorry, we're recording this pretty late. Unfortunately for them, the exiled Prince Zuko of the Fire Nation, who is this guy over here, he's bending fire and he's got that emo look. He's on a rabid quest to hunt down and capture the Avatar, and finally gave the approval of his father, Fire Lord Ozai, and Zuko's uncle. And also Zuko's uncle is with him, the fantastically funny Uncle Iroh. And then they find out that the Avatar is back. On their quest, the Team Avatar meets a waterbending master, Pakku, who teaches Aang waterbending. The aforementioned Toph Beifong, the girl who teaches Aang earthbending, and it also invents the subbending art of metal bending, and joins Team Avatar. Zhang Zhang, a Fire Nation deserter who attempts to teach Aang firebending. Bumi, the Mad King of the quote-unquote Mad King of Omashu and Aang's old friend. And Piandao, a master Fire Nation swordsman who teaches Sokka sword fighting, turns him into a master swordsman himself, and helps him craft his iconic space sword, which he's holding right there. Now, Zuko. Zuko is definitely the number one absolute 100% best character in Avatar. He starts out in book one as this bitter, angry, emo young prince who's shunned by his dad, obsessed with his hunt for the Avatar, and rude to Uncle Iroh even though he loves him like a son. But he develops like hell over the course of the show. In book two, he starts to soften up and he becomes uncharacteristically cheerful at the end of the book. Then he gets the choice of staying with Iroh or returning to the Fire Nation with Azula and maybe gaining Ozai's approval, and then he becomes stupid and chooses the latter option. He betrays Iroh, lands him in a Fire Nation prison. Don't think that his character arc ends there, because even though he looks like he's done some really bad stuff, he really has. But Iroh is not actually screwed over at all, because even though he's an old man, he's also a master badass firebender who can breathe fire. And honestly, I don't know why the prison guards aren't scared of him. So after he returns to the Fire Nation in book 3, Zuko finds himself increasingly satisfied in his life, and then this kind of builds up over the first 25% of the show, and it culminates in this massive meltdown in one of my favorite episodes in the entire show, the beach. After another two of my favorite episodes of the entire show, which is the Day of Black Sun two-parter, Zuko makes the very difficult decision of defect from the Fire Nation and join Team Avatar. This arc is nearly complete. He's gone from like this emo kid to a member of the greatest force of good in the entire world. He ends up reuniting with Iroh, who's never really mad at him, and you get this like really deep feeling of satisfaction. He's finally free of that wrongful assumption that he needs Ozai's approval to live a good life. Iroh's and Team Avatar's love for him, they're good enough. And he forms deep, really long-lasting friendships with the people he once hunted down. This man's got one of the best arcs in fiction. This man's got like an Eren Yeager arc, level arc. You can fight me down there if you want, but this man's got one of the best arcs. World building. Now, world building and lore are Avatar's greatest strengths. I've spent hours on the Avatar fan wiki just reading about the Northern Water Tribes, politics, or the Ba Sing Se or the Fire Nation. The show is absolutely bursting into the seams with lore and politics and cultures and systems and economics and weapons and technology. It is packed. The show's got more lore than freaking Elden Ring. And this show's world building just hits different. Avatar's world is actually one of my favorites in all fiction. Excuse me. Like, actually, it's up there with Hyrule, Hogwarts, Amestris, the world of his dark materials. And I hold those worlds in very high regard. So Avatar's world is, as I said, divided into 4 nations. Water tribes, northern and southern, on the northern and south pole, north and south pole. The northern water tribe is the thriving and its capital, which is in the chronicles of the Avatar book series. It's called Agna Kela. Is one of the world's greatest cities. Meanwhile, the southern water tribe, where Katara and Sokka are from, have been almost totally obliterated by the 100-Year War, and its once flourishing capital, Wolf Cove, is a name revealed in the Avatar Legends role-playing game, is literally reduced to a camp with 5 or 6 tents and 1 igloo and this ridiculous-ass watchtower which Sokka gets destroyed in the first episode. Then there's the Earth Kingdom, which is a massive nation that encompasses a massive area of land and is a massive country, the world's most massive country. And if you ask me, the Earth Kingdom is probably about as big as all of Asia, just looking at the map. The capital of the Earth Kingdom is Ba Sing Se, and as I said, Ba Sing Se is massive. It is the size of a small, medium-sized country. It makes you really wonder how big the Earth Kingdom is. And there's, of course, the story arc, the infamous Ba Sing Se arc, which spans the book 2 episodes: The Drill, City of Walls and Secrets, The Tales of Ba Sing Se, Appa's Last Days, Lake Laogai, and the Earth King. That arc is absolutely brilliant, touching on themes of political corruption, tyranny, and police brutality. These episodes are some of my favorite in the entire show. And then you got the Fire Nation. They're industrialized, and their native bending art is firebending, which is legit the most OP bending of art in the entire show. Now, the Fire Nations are the one who started the war. They are the aggressors. They must all be evil, right? I mean, Toph even says in the book 3 episode, Avatar, the Fire Lord, it's like these people are born, I quote, it's like these people are born bad. But Aang refutes it, because it's really not, because all this, they're all evil mentality, that's not what the creators think. One of the best things Avatar does is that it shows you that the people of the Fire Nation are not all evil. Sure, Ozai is evil, Azula is evil, Admiral Zhao is evil, but the citizens of the Fire Nation are not all just evil. And nowhere is this fact illustrated better than Jet. Now, who I've mentioned before, of course. He's a quote-unquote freedom fighter. Jet is probably one of the most interesting characters in the entire show, even though he only appears in 5 or 6 episodes. He is basically a teenage version of Robin Hood with this pathological hatred of the Fire Nation. I mentioned earlier that he had a vendetta against them, but I don't think I mentioned how bad it was. This man is obsessed with killing the Fire Nation, guys. And I mean, bro's willing to kill an innocent old man because he's Fire Nation. And what happens to him? Katara freezes him to a tree, and when he turns good in the great Book 2 episode, in Book 2's Lake Laogai, he dies. Yes, he dies. Don't attack me for this. He actually dies. This has been confirmed to be canon. He's dead. The fact that the Fire Nation is not one-sided, this is great. This is an asset. And another great asset, probably the greatest, this is not the fantastic writing. It's not the mind-blowing story. It's not even the characters. It is that it takes its audience seriously. Look, Avatar is not targeted towards adults, but a large portion of its fan base is adults. That should tell you something. Most of the shows that I liked when I was younger, I go back to them and I cringe so hard that I can't watch more than 1 minute of them. But not Avatar. Its writing still holds up, and now I can fully appreciate all the heavy stuff and the complex themes that the writers threw in. This is not a show that thinks that kids are dumbasses. This is a show that thinks like a kid. It doesn't inundate you with darkness or gloom, although it has quite a bit of that. And it isn't all have rainbows and sunshines all the time, although it is pretty cheerful and happy and funny a lot too. This is a perfect balance. So in conclusion, this is the most perfect show ever aired on television in all history. Go watch it immediately. You can find all 3 books and all the episode on Netflix. Until next time, this is the Crystal Hawk signing off. And remember this, there is no war in Ba Sing Se. Here we are safe. Here we are free.